Jai Hind viewers, welcome back to the Global Strategic and Defense News. Today we are going to discuss a very important topic which has shaken the whole world, that is Donald Trump's return to power as the 47th President of America and for his second term. And to discuss this very critical and important topic is an eminent journalist who is the co-founder and editor of one of the world's famous publications and whose articles I religiously and regularly read on the social media, and I learn a lot from the articles. I would like to introduce Navinika Singh Chauhan, who has done her MBA from Symbiosis, who has worked in the financial sector, and is now the co-founder and editor of Global Focus Today, which I was just mentioning. Welcome, Navinika, to the Candid Conversation on the Global Strategic and Defense News.
Good morning, Colonel Sandhu. How are you doing?
Thank you so much.
Well, sir, thank you for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to this dialogue, and I think I'm excited about it.
Thank you so much. My first question to you is that I know 1 week is a pretty less time for any global leader to be assessed while in office, but the way Donald Trump has started his action right from his inauguration speech without wasting a single second. So 1 week from that point of view is pretty long. So how do you assess the first 1 week of Donald Trump as regards to his electoral promise of making America great again?
Okay, before I answer the question, there is a bit of a context that I would like to illustrate here. Yes, Donald Trump is back in action, but his second term, one can see that there are some differences in his personality. This time he is emboldened like never before. He is way more organized. And the one key difference, which almost everybody is talking about, is that he has surrounded himself with billionaires. The problem with billionaires is that, they are rivals first and not super friends. And we have already seen that with the public tiff between Elon Musk and, OpenAI's Sam Altman over Stargate, the $500 billion AI infrastructure project. So, what I'm really trying to articulate here is that it seems that Trump, is running or wants to run America as he would run, his corporate empire, largely based on merit, do what your boss wants you to do, strategies, execution, and then most importantly, profit. However, there is a critical difference in running a country because governments must balance short-term wins with, long-term sustainability, keeping not just citizens but also global allies and ecosystems in mind. So Trump's corporate mindset is at odds here because running America as a corporation, might yield short-term gains, but the long-term health of a democracy largely depends on much broader and more inclusive vision. Now, coming to MAGA. In his first vision, President Donald Trump, he undertook several actions aligned with his Make America Great Again MAGA agenda. The first thing that he did was that he declared a national emergency at the US-Mexico border. He resumed the border wall construction, reinstated the Remain in Mexico policy, designated certain migrant gangs as foreign terrorist organizations, and attempted to end birthright citizenship. Now, of course, we know that that has, kind of gone into a bit of a legal problem, which almost everybody, had spoken about. Now, these measures do show a commitment to stringent immigration control, which is central tenet of the MAGA platform. In my opinion, every country has a right to take strict action against illegal migrants. They eat into your resources, they compete with nationals on jobs, benefits, voting, and so much more than that. In fact, India too has a similar problem with illegal Bangladeshis here, so this is fair. But the one sector that is up in arms about this decision of his is America's agricultural sector. Where the farmers are largely dependent on immigrants to do their jobs that no American wants to. And they have very clearly said that this is going to have a very detrimental effect on the economy in the sense that the food prices will increase. And ultimately, it is the Americans, who will have to pay the price. Now, coming to the second important decision that he took was that he established the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, which is led by Elon Musk. Implemented a federal hiring freeze, mandated the return of federal employees to in-person work, and he reinstated Schedule F, reducing job protections for certain federal employees. Now, efforts to streamline government operations and reduce spending are commendable. He's obviously looking at merit here. However, the reinstatement of Schedule F could undermine the stability and impartiality of civil service by making it easier to dismiss, career officials in policy roles. And honestly, there is a lot of debate about this, as to how this entire thing is going to be handled within the administration. The third thing that he did was he withdrew US from the Paris Climate Agreement, declared a national energy emergency to expedite fossil fuel production, and halted wind energy projects. Now, what is Donald Trump betting here on? Well, he's betting on oil, and he's thinking that oil can grease the economy's wheels and fix everything. The president likes to call it liquid gold. His main economic assumption here is that oil production by United States, the Saudis, and the rest of OPEC would bring down prices. Now, that would reduce overall inflation and cut down on the oil revenues that Russia is using to fund its war in Ukraine. So for Trump, oil is the answer. He's betting that fossil fuels are the future despite the climate change risk. But this comes at a huge cost because you're prioritizing energy independence and economic growth, which yes aligns with MAGA objectives, but withdrawing from the international climate commitments and focusing on fossil fuels, will have long-term environmental repercussions. Something which I think everybody should kind of look, because that is the most important aspect that we all need to at least find a solution for. So, on a broader perspective, this could isolate the US on a global climate initiative. One of the most critical decisions that he has taken is that he has eliminated diversity, equity, and inclusion in DEI programs in federal agencies. He has recognized only male and female genders officially and closed the Spanish language version, of the White House website. Now, these actions reflect, a return to traditional values emphasized in the MAGA agenda. However, dismantling DI initiatives and limiting gender recognition will alienate marginalized communities. It would take them back to the very time where they came out in large numbers to fight for their rights. It is also setting a very dangerous example because it could lead them to get to be more marginalized, abused, violence, and harassment. Moreover, it is overlooking the importance of inclusivity in a diverse nation as the United States. The fifth thing is that he, issued pardons to approximately 1,500 individuals associated with the January 6th Capitol riot and revoked security clearances for former officials critical of his administration. While the pardons may be seen as an attempt to heal divisions, they could also be interpreted as undermining accountability for actions that challenged democratic institutions. In fact, it sets a very dangerous example, as in effect, you are saying that it's okay to have riots guised under freedom of expression, and if you're supporting a particular political person, and also revoking security clearances appears to be retaliatory and may discourage constructive criticism for or within his administration. Now coming to the economic policies. Of course, the whole world is talking about Trump's tariffs. He has threatened tariffs, targeting China, Canada, Mexico, India, EU, etc. Of course, Mexico and China largely for fentanyl, which is, proving to be a major epidemic in the US. Canada largely for porous borders, and the rest of the world for alleged trade deficit. However, it seems that Trump uses tariffs, largely as a carrot and a negotiating tool. And let's see how much he actually follows on this promise. If he does, it would lead to a major global market upheaval. There would be trade wars, possibly supply chain disruptions, and a lot of companies, barring probably the AI sector, are already feeling the heat and very unsure how to manage this Trump conundrum along with the geopolitical upheavals. Um, Again, he has also gone ahead and frozen foreign aid, except for Israel and Egypt, causing much alarm from the humanitarian organizations. Notably, the U.S. spent over, I think, about $60 billion in foreign aid in 2023, more than any other country in the world. And here, I think the message is very clear. He's saying that America no longer wants to be known as the world's biggest donor. Trump doesn't really care. He has made it clear that America doesn't, get anything in return. So why should we do it? So in summary, President Trump's initial actions in his second term, largely reflects a very determined effort to advance his MAGA agenda. While some initiatives may strengthen national interest and economic growth, others raise concerns regarding constitutional integrity, environmental stewardship, and social cohesion. To me, it seems that Trump wants to start his presidency with a bang, which he has. He wanted not only the Americans to notice and say, look, whatever he promised, he has done so on first day, and largely to the world, don't take America for granted. I think it could be a major opportunity for China to initiate China's BRI projects, Africa, South America, and probably for India as well, especially economically, as major companies want to make a beeline for Indian markets. So what remains to be seen is on the economic front, how much, he will push the envelope, particularly on tariffs, because ultimately America would want to not lose out its position as the world leader on economic front. So that is what I think.
Well, you have explained it very well and very pertinent points you have brought out. And I totally agree with you on your statement that Donald Trump has started his second presidency with a bang, and we saw the bang in his inauguration speech itself. Thank you once again.
Yes,
My
yes,
next question, Navinika, is the Russia-Ukraine war is now going to
yes,
complete 3 years on 24th February, that is next month. And Donald Trump, in
yes.
his electoral campaign, has said that within one day of my taking over as the US president, I'll end this war. Well, it's been 7 weeks,
Mhm.
and I pretty well understand that ending a war of such a big magnitude is very complex and complicated. But what is your
Yes.
assessment? How is this Russia-Ukraine war going to end? Will it end? And if it will end, what will be the terms on which this prolonged war will end?
Okay, you're very right. He had said during his election campaign that he would end the war between the two nations on day one. Well, that hasn't happened. But Trump, has spoken about putting higher tariffs and more sanctions on Russia. He has also said that prolonging the war would lead to further deterioration of Russia's economy, which is already under strain. And small whispers of discontent from Russian elites is widely circulating in the media. So Trump's approach is very classic. It's a mix of big carrot and a whole lot of stick. And Ukraine's position is dire. I mean, Zelensky has never really found an ally in Trump as compared to Biden. To be noted, Biden did clear the $1 billion aid to Ukraine before leaving office. And I guess he probably did that because, he very well knew that Trump would probably not give Ukraine anything. So essentially, while military aid delivered through programs like PDA, USAI, are not directly affected by the freeze which Donald Trump has put in. But the US aid-funded reconstruction efforts will face significant uncertainty, at least in Ukraine. Now, so what I'm really trying to get at is that, the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, he has said that a Ukraine settlement should be reached by the US and Russia without Ukraine and without the European Union. So Kiev and Moscow have expressed incompatible terms for a ceasefire. Now we have to look at what Kiev has demanded. Well, Ukraine has demanded a full withdrawal of Russian troops from its territory and immediate NATO, membership. Moscow says that there is no question of returning any land it occupies and wants Ukraine written out of NATO. Now, coming to Trump's team, so far it has not offered any detail of what kind of a deal it might look like. If there was to be a deal, but he suggested that he was willing to accommodate Russia's view that Ukraine's right to self-determination could be put aside in favor of a bigger interest. The Kremlin has said that it would need to see what Trump thinks a deal comprises of before proceeding. Now, interestingly, Zelensky in the World Economic Forum, he had said that at least 2 lakh allied troops would be needed to enforce any peace deal in Ukraine, as he urged Europe to kind of take care of itself as Donald Trump returns to power in the US. He also said that reducing Ukraine's army to a fifth or of its 8 lakh strong size, which is one of Kremlin's demand, is not going to happen. So what we need to see is in this entire thing, what has Russia achieved so far? Now, for one, Putin remains very defiant despite the growing challenges. While he acknowledges, that the economy is struggling, and he has expressed, but at the same point in time, he has also expressed confidence in his government's ability to steady the ship. I think almost fifth of Ukraine is under its control, and Russia has achieved its most significant territorial gains. The primary objective in the war being, and you can correct me here if I'm wrong. The land corridor connecting mainland Russia to Crimea is finally under Russia's control, which is a strategic lifeline for Putin, and he has sought that for a very long time. So. I think, while Putin has said that if Trump had been the president, this war would have never happened. In my opinion, this situation is quickly emerging as US, Russia versus NATO. And Trump anyway is miffed with NATO. I think Trump is smart. Like he would mend his relationship with Putin. He anyways is friends with Putin, and largely it will become US, Russia, NATO, Ukraine. So the war I think it might end, but for a brief period, and I think it would lead to a much larger conflict, so to speak.
Right. Very good points, and I, totally agree with you that Donald Trump has never been quite, appreciative of Zelensky. In fact, many times in his run-up to the presidency, he remarked that the world's biggest salesman is Zelensky. Well, each time he comes to America, he walks away with $100 million. So that pretty well explains
Yes.
what you just said, that they both don't see eye to eye. So I totally agree with you. The war is not going to last long because now that America has put a 90-day moratorium on all aid except like you rightly said, to Israel and
Hmm.
Egypt. And Zelensky has remarked many times that if the American aid doesn't come, I can only fight for 2 weeks. So
Hmm.
1 week is almost over. So I think the war ending is on the horizon. Very nicely explained. Navinika, my next question is that has Trump made an impact in the Middle East? Definitely. One day before he became the U.S. president for a second time, the Israel-Hamas ceasefire happened, and the way the hostages are being, exchanged, there's a lot of uneasiness in Israel because their main far right, Ben Giver, who was a minister, he has resigned. The another far right party has said that after 2 weeks, if the Israel doesn't resume its war, we'll withdraw support, and then Benjamin Netanyahu's government can fall. So within Israel, there's a lot of turbulence regarding this ceasefire. How do you visualize what has been Trump's, success in the Middle East so far?
Um, Firstly, there might be a ceasefire, but actually, it's not really ceasefire on ground, because there have been a lot of, reports which have been coming in where Israeli forces have opened fire on Palestinians trying to return home, in the north of Gaza Strip, and Hamas has also accused Israel of delaying the implementation of the ceasefire deal. So maybe on paper, on paper it is that yes, there's a ceasefire, but I don't think that it's out and out ceasefire. There could be a bit of a debate on that. But ironically, before Biden could even bask in the limelight of saying that, we have negotiated a deal and there is going to be a ceasefire. Well, Trump had already, gone to his Truth Social platform and he had declared that there was a ceasefire, that there will be a ceasefire and so on and so forth. But again, like I said, I'm not really 100% sure that there is a ceasefire. But coming to your question, I think Israel, within Israel, there is a lot of anguish, and they do want to, end this war as soon as possible. And like you rightly said, there is not much support from the people of Israel, with regards to continuation of this war. But I think, what is really interesting is that I have always believed that there was something under the layers of the ceasefire, where did Trump push Netanyahu to the table? Moreover, what if the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, isn't what it seems? What if there is a covert strategy behind this truce? What I'm trying to say is that, think about what Trump said about after the ceasefire. Like he opened his cards and he said, Egypt and Jordan, why don't you take the 2.3 million in number Palestinians, into your fold? I mean, if that is what the ceasefire was all about, then this is a very well thought out strategy. I mean, he's anyway said that, clear Gaza out. So I'm not really sure as to whether the people can actually, come there and lead their life and all of that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think all along there was this deal that we will have a ceasefire. It'll look good in media. By the time you can give us those bombs that we have wanted, and at the end of the day, Trump opens his cards and he says, why doesn't Egypt and Jordan take them? So I don't really think so. I think Middle East is going to be a problem, and it will continue to be a problem. It's not that easy to solve, and if these if the Palestinians and Egypt and Jordan, they are like, okay, we don't want these people, and they are like, we want to stay here. Well, I don't think that this is going to be sorted out. Then that's my opinion. I mean, that's how I see it.
Well, you are absolutely right. Middle East is a very different case, and it's not easy to solve. Here, I will like tell you an anecdote. In the State Department of the U.S., there's a very famous joke that whenever a new Secretary of State is appointed, he or
Hmm.
she first tries to resolve the Jammu and Kashmir issue between India and Pakistan. And when they
Hmm.
fail there, then they turn to Middle East to solve that issue because they know that they can get a Nobel Prize only if they solve the Jammu Kashmir issue or the Middle East issue. Until now, all
Yes.
secretaries of state have failed. So yes, you're absolutely
Hmm.
correct that Middle East is a very complex issue. It is not going to be solved in a very simple manner as what Donald Trump is trying to make out to the world. Navnika, my next
Uh,
question is,
hmm.
yeah, please,
Yes.
please continue.
No, I was also saying that, there was this very statement that he made that, let's clean Gaza out. I mean, what do you mean? I mean, that particular land is their place. So when you're saying clean Gaza out, that is essentially what even Israel was doing, right? Or Israel is doing. It is essentially trying to clean Gaza out. So I don't know. I don't think that it is something that can be solved so easily.
True. Navnika, my next question is what, in your assessment, has been Donald Trump's attitude towards China? We saw in his first tenure, he was very anti China.
Uh,
But what has happened now in the last 1 week in his second presidency?
Honestly, I think it's sunny days for China. Uh, although he came, guns blazing with additional tariffs for China over fentanyl, but interestingly, in his virtual address at the World Economic Forum, he spoke of the potential for a very good relationship, while still reiterating the importance of establishing a level playing field. But he has put the whole blame on Biden administration. He has said that it is because of the Biden administration administration that this whole trade deficit has happened. Secondly, Trump has a very good personal rapport with Xi Jinping, whom he has also extended an invitation to, for his inauguration ceremony. Again, if we look from the business point of view, he has almost, saved TikTok from shutting shop in the US. And that actually says a lot. I think you're right. His main grief with China was largely for COVID, and of course the imbalance in trade. But China has kind of solved that also. They have increased their total exports from the US, and China has also said that it will maintain this balance. So there's a lot here. There is, of course, rivalry when it comes, to the semiconductor industry. Then AI is another area where they are competitors. Politically, I think Trump would want to focus on a mutually beneficial relationship. The one issue, which was there, of course, was Taiwan, and Biden administration and even administrations before Biden, they were, obviously very pro Taiwan in the sense that they would provide all the military aid and so on and so forth. But Trump has a slightly different take here. He has openly said that Taiwan needs to shell out more, for US protection. And I think another reason for Trump to favor China would be because he wants to, avoid the China's supposed war in Taiwan in 2027. So I think for now, I think that he has softened his stand on China, and I think it's a wait and watch game because essentially it largely depends on, business. And that is what Trump is looking at this point in time. He wants to make sure that all the biggest industries are operating out of US, and that every trade is in America's favor, and he doesn't want to give any kind of excuse to any country when it comes to imbalance in trade. So I think for now China is safe.
Right. You have really explained very well, and I truly agree with you that Donald Trump wants to avoid the China's war on Taiwan, which, by all timelines, is pointing to 2027. Very well explained. Navanika, my last question is that, in the first presidency of Donald Trump, there was a lot of bonhomie between India and USA, and Donald Trump organized a big function in US called Howdy Modi, and it was,
Yes.
reciprocated here with Namaste Trump, and we saw a lot of, warmth between the two leaders. But this presidency is seeing a different turn. So, what is your assessment? Is that warmth still there, or there has been a change in heart in Donald Trump towards India?
Um, Again, I think Trump, his main agenda is only trade. And yes, you're right. His personal rapport with Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been a cornerstone, of mutual administration. In fact, even the MAGA tone is very similar to Atmanirbhar Bharat. I mean, yes, Atmanirbhar Bharat was more about setting up the manufacturing sector, but there is a lot of similar tone between the two agendas. Now, if we were to look at the optics, before he came into office, and I would like to kind of say this because I was reading it somewhere, that in his Diwali speech, in October 2022, Trump had expressed his commitment to, elevate US and India relations to new heights. If he were to return to office, which he has. He emphasized, his strong connections with the Hindu community, India, and Prime Minister Modi, indicating a desire to like build upon existing partnership. And I think one thing to note here would be that External Affairs Minister, S. J. Shankar, has also acknowledged this positive dynamic, especially considering where he was seated during Trump's inauguration. Although there was a bit of a controversy there, the invitation was not extended to Modi, and so he went to get the invitation. I think all of that was just. Just nonsense. But still, coming to that, Jaishankar noted that India's better position than many countries, to engage with Trump administration. Uh, However, it's important to recognize that Trump's America First policies, could introduce challenges, particularly in trade, like I said. And he has also mentioned that, he has labeled India as a very big abuser of trade ties. Now, when comparing India and China in terms of who holds a better fort with respect to the relationship with Donald Trump, I think the dynamics are shaped by a mix of strategic, economic, and geopolitical considerations. Um, Trump has largely viewed India as a strategic partner, also a key partner in countering China's growing influence in Indo-Pacific. Initiatives like Quad underscored the US-India strategic alignment. Again, defense ties. I mean, India is one of the major importer, of defense arms and ammunitions and all of that. So I think on that front, um, India does have a major tie-in with America, but uh, honestly, I think. There is a new Trump that we are seeing. And Trump, being Trump, he's very unpredictable, especially now when he has laid it bare that it's all about America, it's America alone, and it's its people. So I think in the end, whichever country aligns with this vision will earn Trump's favors. And I think that is what we are going to see, at least for the first year. It might change next year, because it's an evolving thing. But for now, for 2025, I think he's got his agenda straight, and it is trade. That is what he's looking at, um, largely from the world.
Thank you so much, Navinika. It was really an honor for the Global Study Defense News that you spared a valuable time and you came on the show and you explained each and every question so well. And like I said earlier, not only do I learn from the articles on your publication, I've learned a lot from you, the way you have expressed things so nicely with a lot of facts and figures. Thank you once again for coming on the Global Strategic and Defense News.
Thank you, sir. It was an honor, and let me tell you, this is my first interview, of this caliber, and I was quite nervous, but I hope I did justice. And thank you very much. You introduced me into this new era. So yeah.
Thank you.